Hey you guys, it's your girl Mocha Baby and welcome back to my channel. If you are a newbie, welcome, and I hope that you love it here. This is where the magic resides. If you've been following me for some time, thank you. How you doing? What's popping with you? You already know how we get it done on this channel. We're all just one big happy lit family. And before I jump into anything else, I first got to congratulate Georgia. We did it, you guys. Congratulations to Senator Ossoff and Senator Warnock on their victory over Kelly Loeffler and David Perdue in the special runoff election that happened on this past Tuesday, January the 5th. We did it, Georgia. Shout out to Albany. Shout out to Atlanta. Shout out to Savannah. Shout out to, I think it was a couple other areas. They slipped my mind at this point. But if you guys know them, please comment down below because they deserve a shout out too. Because they, when I tell you these areas stepped, y'all, because I was watching it, you know, so I would be able, A, to talk about it, and B, just to also just know, be in the know and know what's going on. I was really proud of us, y'all. Shout out to us. I do think that we're going to start seeing some of those changes that we've been demanding and been wanting for so long. Not saying that it's going to be overnight because these things are a process, but I do think it is a beautiful beginning. Before I go any further, I just kind of want to talk about how I feel about politics. To be honest, before a couple years ago, I wasn't really into it. You know, I thought politics was boring. I thought, you know, it was nothing, you know, outside of grown ass, older, for the most part, predominantly white people that can't get along, all this arguing and bickering and not getting anything done. And for the most part, I still believe that to be true. But in order to change that, you got to make your voice be heard. And I'm somebody that has voted since I was old enough to vote in the past couple elections. But, you know, I kind of felt like in a way that wasn't enough. So I started talking about these things on my YouTube, which led to the NAACP contacting me and, you know, wanting me to, you know, collaborate with them on getting, you know, people my age, young people out to vote. So, you know, with all that being said, you know, thinking back about the deaths of Michael Brown and all the countless other young black lives that have been taken with no, you know, reproach or anything, I could not just sit back and not do anything while we're just still losing our precious young black lives that did not deserve to be lost in the first place. I had to act. I had to do something. So that's kind of what led me into wanting to have some of these discussions and wanting to engage, you know, the young people, the demographic of 18 to 34, the ones that may not care as much about this stuff as some of the older generations, say the 40s, 50s, and 60s, you know, that really care, and even older than that, that, you know, lived through some things that we haven't lived through, but we've lived through things too. So it's important for us to use our voice so that it could be heard. So I definitely could not just sit back and be silent at all. So that's kind of what led to me. And, you know, you guys, I found out that with all the trickery and dirt and how, you know, it's discriminatory and all these different things, it's kind of like a soap opera. It makes me think of The Bold and Beautiful and Young and the Restless and all those type of soap operas, but just like in a business type setting, but basically the same type of things going on. So it's, you know, sort of kind of interesting a little bit when you really start getting into what's going on and all those kind of things. So that's kind of what also piqued my interest as well. But moving right along, we're going to definitely dive into what this video is all about. We're going to discuss, and I know you guys, unless y'all been under a rock, have heard about what has happened this week. A shameful day. January the 6th, which is the day after the special election that I was just talking about. In many ways, it kind of overshadowed, that, runoff special election with all the craziness that happened, right the next day, within hours of it being declared, then the craziness started. So I'm definitely going to dive right into it. And, I was talking about these things somewhat on my Twitter, and some of the feedback that I was getting also made me want to discuss this, so I wouldn't have to keep going back and forth with people, because that's kind of just not, who I am, all this, this right here. So I kind of just want to say what I got to say, and then, I said what I said, that's it, drop it. But okay, first things first, we got to talk about what happened. We had 45. He was talking to his supporters, the Trumpers, and, basically getting them riled up for this big march that was supposed to take place, where they marched down to the Capitol building and basically supposedly protest about, them being in anguish over the election and how it was all this supposed fraud, and Joe Biden didn't win and he's not supposed to be the next president. So he was firing them up and telling them that he was going to be with them when it all comes down to it. The first lie, no, he was not. He was matter of fact, he was nowhere to be found. I mean, he wasn't no way, shape, or form in that march that took place. So they should feel used right there that he said he was going to be with y'all. And this isn't the first time that this has happened over the course of time since he's been, doing these things, that he said one thing and did a complete, total other one. So, I mean, at this point, they really should feel played. But we're going to get into that a little bit later in the discussion. So after he riled them up and, fueled their anger and their passion, they, took it to the Capitol building. They marched down there. They were standing on the steps, and, then it went from that, which pretty much went from sugar to shit. And you can't put sugar on shit. So that means it was just chaotic and crazy. They broke windows, destroyed property, stole podiums. You name it, it was done. Even you had somebody scaling down to be coming down. You had people climbing walls. It was just utter chaos and confusion. Now, mind you, a lot of these people were armed. So that means that they were also dangerous. Now, you're in a federal building, armed. That means you're prepared to do something. If you feel like you want to do something, you're prepared to shoot that gun, that AK automatic, that rifle, or whatever weapon that, some of them had at this time. So, I'm just trying to figure out, how did they get this close? Because you guys know that if it had been a bunch of people like this, a bunch of brown people, a bunch of black people, a bunch of niggas, it would have never happened. We would have never got that close. Matter of fact, we wouldn't even got to the corner that Capitol building was on before they start picking us off. Before they start tear gassing us. Before they start shooting rubber bullets at us. And if we kept coming, then it was going to turn to the other bullets. So, I mean, I'm just like, it was piss poor security. I mean, matter of fact, y'all was letting these people in. Why was you letting these people in and taking pictures with them? What the hell? And, over the past couple days, we've heard the term insurrection quite a lot. And, before July the 6th, not July, January, I don't know why I keep doing that. But before January the 6th, make it clear, I had never heard of the word insurrection, at least not in a long time. I didn't know what the word that meant. I'm like, talk English. So I looked up what insurrection actually does mean. And according to the Oxford Dictionary, it is a violent uprising against authority or the government. It's something like a rebellion or a revolt. Those last couple words are mine. So that's, kind of what I think, after reading the meeting. I think it's like a rebellion. It's like a revolt. It's like a takeover as well. So he basically stoked the fires in these people and caused them to do an insurrection. He caused them to uprise against the government. Isn't that a federal offense? Why wasn't there any more people arrested than what there was? There was only 5 people dead, and one of them was a cop, which, I also read, prior to doing this video, like maybe like an hour or so, that he was killed because somebody had the audacity to take a fire extinguisher and bash him in the head with it. I mean, are you guys serious? Because I'm one, I don't condone violence on any way, shape, or form, even though I do understand some of it, but I don't condone it at all. And we're going to get into what I'm talking about in a little bit later in this discussion. But before I get into that, one of the things that I noticed, and particularly on Twitter, when I was having this discussion on my Twitter, which is Pretty Flacco 25, for those of you that may want to follow me on Twitter, I talk real stuff, basically like, my YouTube and things, those kind of topics, if you want to follow me. So yeah, shameless plug right there. But moving along, as I was saying, as I was discussing this, and some of the feedback that I was getting was comparing, the supposed protest turned riots of the Trumpers to the protest turned riots of the Black Lives Matter movement, and was trying to compare the two. And, that angered me in my soul. I felt it right here, y'all. I'm like, how can you compare those? They have nothing to do with each other. They are not the same. And I'm going to explain how they ain't the same. They not. How can you compare people being mad about the results of an election and, based off of lies that their leader told them, stoking them about an election, crying about that? How can you compare that to the losing of lives, to Black blood being constantly taken through no fault of their own, or even if there was some fault, they still did not deserve to die in the way that they did? That's like you took somebody else's job upon yourself to do. It's only one person who can make the decision to do that. And last time I checked, your name was not God. So how can you even compare that? Like, you basically like babies whining compared to people upset and frustrated and angry because you keep showing them that they don't mean nothing to you. I mean, how can you compare that at all? There is no comparison. And anybody that says that there is a comparison, you have a very fucked up mentality. And I'm here to tell you that you do. It is totally and completely insane, and you need to be checked in. And you just somebody that I would never want to talk to or be around ever in my life. So with that being said, I'm going to move right along into how it's different. Because it's so different. And I'm that person. I like to have facts to back up when I talk my shit. So I got some facts for you guys. And I'm going to look down in my Amazon Fire tablet. Shout out to them, by the way. You guys can sponsor me at any time. Okay. But at any rate, I'm looking at the arrest right now. First of all, I'm going to go over the arrest and the deaths from the insurrection on America that happened on January the 6th. We had, Forbes have 52, but I've seen in other places where it was 58, where it was 55, where it was 68. So I'm just going to go right in the middle of those numbers and say 55. So 55 people was arrested. It was 5 deaths. One of those deaths was the cop that I mentioned earlier that had, that basically got knocked in the head with a fire extinguisher, probably repeatedly, probably got his skull bashed in over ridiculousness. So I feel like his blood is on 45's hands, as well as the other lady that also was killed. Her blood is on his hands too, even though she was a Trump supporter, even though she was talking reckless, they say, before the rally. Still, I feel like it's his fault because he stoked that in her and kept, telling lies. And you people tell you something long enough, you start to believe it. So she believed exactly what he was telling her, and the countless other ones as well. So that to me is his fault. So now moving on to some numbers from the Black Lives Matter movement protest. And there's 2 dates in particular I want to look at. First, I want to look at May the 30th, when there was 427 arrests made, which 24 of those arrests were children. Now, what in the hell was children doing that you felt like you had to arrest them? What were they doing? That you could not find another way to de-escalate the situation? Come on, these folks, what, 12, 13, 14, what could they have possibly been doing? And then another date, June the 1st of 2020, there was 289 arrests made. So, that's about 5 times or so the arrest that was made on Wednesday. So I'm trying to figure out something. How is that possible when this is a federal building that these people got into, that you only arrested those amount of people, whereas when it was a Black Lives Matter, and let's say we talking about a Target, Forever 21, places like that, you got this many arrests. It's not adding up. Somebody make it make sense, because it ain't making sense to me. But then again, it makes perfect sense to me, because that's my next point I want to make. There's 2 different sets of rules in the judicial system when it comes to white people or racist white people and black people and those that stand with black people, because I don't want to make it seem like it was just all black people, because they was arresting white people too, but they were arresting the white people that stood with the black people, or the Asian people, or Japanese people, or Spanish people that stood with the black people. So if you stand with us, they feel like you're one of us. They feel like, okay, you them niggas, you with them niggas, you a nigga lover, and we don't give a damn about you either, like we don't give a damn about them. So it's, it is what it is. So just which go to my next point. Now we know that it would not have went that far if it had been that second group of people I was talking about, black people and anybody that, sees right and wrong and stands with black people on these issues, would have decided to march to their capital. But first of all, Black Lives Matter ain't that crazy, because we already know what's going to go down if we even attempt to do something like that. We already know how it's going to happen, y'all. We already know that you're going to start pew-pewing us like we a fly. Like we like Fly Travis got better treatment than what we would get. Which is the fly name I gave that was on Mike Pence's head. We get better treatment than what we would get if we decided that we was going to take, a little walk down to the Capitol building and air out some of our grievances, because that's basically what the people did on Wednesday. But if we did that, we wouldn't even get that close. We wouldn't get to the corner before pew, 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 pew. And if we kept coming, it would be more than just pew, pew with rubber bullets. It would be some real ones. And it would be tear gas. And, all these different things. And, it would have been so many more people arrested. And so many more people would have died. But that's not what we saw, this past Wednesday. Matter of fact, it was the complete opposite. Matter of fact, they let them in. They took pictures with them. You know, hee, ha, ha. You know, all that kind of stuff. You know, you had somebody running from somebody, running to not shoot them, running to not hurt them. You know, and that's so disheartening. I'm just, you know, floored at that. And, you know, then you got a guy in somebody's office with his crusty, nasty, dirty ass feet on somebody's desk like he owned it. Because, you know, when I think of that, you know, you see when somebody, you know, you watch TV and somebody put their feet on somebody's desk, that signifies something. That signifies, you know, powerful. That signifies, I think I'm the shit. That signifies superiority. That in this case, it also signified disrespect. This is like, I'm putting my feet on your stuff. That's what I think about you, Nancy Pelosi. And, you know, they was, you know, in her. Then we had somebody scaling walls, climbing the walls, and coming down, scaling the walls on the inside, and stealing stuff and breaking stuff. It was just chaos. So, but, you know, you wasn't shooting them down like that. And I'm not saying that they should have been shot down. But what I'm saying is you should not have shot down, you know, the Black Lives Matter protesters in that way. And especially the peaceful ones that was not breaking in Target, was not stealing things. You know, just people did not have a gun. But these people on this past Wednesday, a lot of them were armed and dangerous. But they still was not perceived as dangerous, even though they were. So somebody make that make sense. But then you get another group of people, black or those minorities or people that stand with black people, that do the same thing, and it's a different result. Somebody make that make sense. I'm trying to figure that out for the life of me. Aren't we all Americans? Don't all our blood, don't we bleed red? Don't we piss, shit, and fart? Don't we all do the same things? Then why is it two different sets of rules for two different sets of people? I don't understand. Didn't, you know, we build this thing? I'm trying to understand, you know, how do you expect us to build it? You look at us like we're a threat, but then you expect us to clean it up and keep the peace. I don't understand. Somebody help me understand. If you understand it, please comment down below. Help me understand. Make it make sense, because I don't get it. I don't understand it, and it's frustrating. I really don't understand it. Why would you let these folks in? Why would you be taking pictures with them? Why wasn't there any more arrests? Isn't that a federal offense? Shouldn't all them folks been arrested? Every last one of them. Every last one of them people that was in that building on Wednesday should be in jail right now. That's the way I see it. If it had been, you know, black people, it most certainly would have been way more people sitting in a jail overcrowded right now. So, you know, you do the crime, you do the time, right? Isn't that how it's supposed to be? If you know you for what's right, isn't that what's right? But I'm not seeing what's right with that. And then another thing, people have been saying, you know, Trump's lost his mind. You know, he's crazy. He's cuckoo. This, that. He's an idiot. You know, he may have had a nervous breakdown over this because he's never in his mind lost, and he does not see himself as a loser. So that does not compute to him. But at the same time, he knows exactly what he's doing. He's been this man for the past 5 years. He's shown us repeatedly who he is. It's time that we believe exactly what he's shown us. He's always been racist. He's always been a bigot. He's been spreading hate ever since he started campaigning 5-6 years ago. It's the same rhetoric. He's been doing it for years. Why are we surprised? We should not be surprised. we should not be saying that he's out of his mind, because he's not. He's in his mind. Matter of fact, he's in his right state of mind. Matter of fact, he knows what it is that he's doing. Matter of fact, in his mind, he thinks he's a genius, but clearly he's not. You ain't no genius, dividing the country further than what it already is. And another thing, we're calling this the worst day in history. How can it be the worst day of history? And, I also got this viewpoint from King of Reeds. Shout out to King of Reeds. When he said, when has it ever been good for anybody in America other than white people? And, I didn't see it like that. But you know what? Now that he said it and I got to thinking about it, he is absolutely 100% correct. It's never been, and you really think about history and how it played out, and you paid attention in social studies or history, world history, when you got older, when was it ever good? All that stuff we learned. If it wasn't about slaves, it was about how they mistreated the Indians. It was about how they mistreated us. It was about how they stole from another group of people. It was about how people was escaping one place to get to another one because they was persecuted for being who they were. So it's always been something in history that was not good for anybody that was not white. So I'm confused. It's not the worst day in history. It's exactly what history has always been for a lot of people outside of white people. What it is a bad day in history. What it is, something that should have never happened. What it is embarrassing. And if anybody wanted to do something to America, now would be the perfect time. And I've been saying this for the past year or so, because we've been at unrest with ourselves. We've been at war with ourselves. So if somebody really wanted to be nasty and really wanted to get in and, cause even more chaos and confusion and start something, now would be the perfect time. Because, we not liking ourselves. We against each other. So when nobody know what's going on, it would be perfect. So I just hope that don't nobody take that opportunity. I really hope and I pray to God, the Most High, that does not happen. And one more thing before I go. Trump, what he did this past week, this past Wednesday, is something that he's been building upon ever since he took office. I don't know why people are surprised. Again, I keep saying that because if you paid attention to his rhetoric, if you paid attention to the things that he says, and the things that come out of his mouth, come out of that thing, in between his lips, then you know what he's been building upon, the hatred he's been brewing, the passions he's been stoking and using against people, that he's been building exactly to this moment. He's been building exactly for this right here to happen. So it's just like sitting back like, okay, so it finally did happen. He staged, a coup, because, what he wanted, he wants a dictatorship. And I've been saying that, even outside of me doing my videos on politics. I've been saying that just in everyday conversations. So, to see it come into fruition, it's like what he staged basically was a takeover, which it failed because they did a piss poor job. I also said that on Twitter as well, and got a couple laughs. Shout out to Alec Walls on that. But yeah, he, they did a horrible job. But he incited that. And I'm trying to figure out, why is this guy even still president? Because we all know if that had been President Obama, he would have been gone. Even before they got them folks out of that building, he would have been gone. Why is 45 still in office? Even if it is or was at the point just 2 weeks left. It wouldn't have mattered with Obama if it was a day. If it was a few hours, they would have got him out that office. If he would have even tried something like that. So I'm just trying to figure, I know Nancy Pelosi is working on, but it should be more than just Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer. I think it was one Republican that's just, fed up with it as well. Shout out to him as well. It was more than just, those people wanting, what's right. Because at this point, it should be more than Democrat and Republican. It should just be about being American and what's right and what's wrong. And that clearly was wrong. So he should be, held accountable as well for his actions. So I'm just confusion on that as well. I'm confusion on all of it, to be honest. And it's just flooring to watch and a bit intriguing to see how it all unfolds as we talk about the piss poor security, the piss poor takeover, the piss poor president. It's just all piss poor. That's just what the last 4 years have been, piss poor. Let's see. Is there anything else I want to say before I end this video? I do think that is all that I want to say. Okay, I'm wrapping it up right here, right now. Thank you guys for watching me. If you are not subscribed, please do so by hitting the red box, hitting the bell to be notified every time I make a video so you won't miss out on all these good, juicy, real topics, because I'm going to keep them coming and you guys can keep running them up and we can run it up together. As always, stay blessed.